Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess Hover. This is Wilson Hover. Say hey. He's so cute. He's just about 4 months old. And today's video is about mental health after having a baby. If you're new to my channel, I do make videos about other things, but lately not, because my life has been about motherhood. So my videos are about that too. And lucky for me, it brought a lot of you here. So if you are interested in new videos every week about motherhood and other stuff, subscribe now. Mental health after having a baby. I was reading last night about postpartum depression, and something I found said that 1 in 7 women will face postpartum depression. I had a baby 4 years ago. That's my daughter Eloise, and my experience after having Eloise was significantly different than my experience after having Wilson. And I want to talk to you about that because my hope is not that I can prevent you guys from having postpartum depression or baby blues or something. I realize that I'm limited in my ability to help you through a camera and a screen, but I want to be able to encourage you and hopefully make you more aware of what it is that you're feeling so that you can get help if you need it. When I had Eloise, let me just rewind a little bit and tell you about my life prior to that time. My husband and I worked for multiple nonprofits and lived a little bit crazy. We traveled around all the time. While I was pregnant, we lived in Barcelona, Spain with 13 male skateboarders. We shared an apartment with 13 skaters. Yeah, I've lived on church floors. We lived in like a school before. We lived in random places, living a crazy life, loving it, but it was a bit wild. And so through that time, I decided that I was a pretty resilient person who is capable of a lot of stuff. And I tell you that because I think I had convinced myself that postpartum depression was not a thing that would affect me because I was unaffectable. I was doing already crazy things that some people would be depressed living like I was living, and I wasn't depressed. I was happy. So I figured I would be happy after I had Eloise. And short story is, I was happy after I had Eloise. I loved my daughter. But longer story is that I was some form of depressed. I never was like clinically diagnosed with postpartum depression. For those of you who know my story a little bit, you know that a bit later, maybe when Eloise was 2, I think, is when I spent 10 days in a mental hospital because I was suicidal. But that's 2 years after she was born. So that's not postpartum depression. That's just straight depression. But I think that me ending up in a hospital feeling suicidal all connected to having a baby and having my life flipped upside down by motherhood. At the same time, when I had Eloise, my job had changed a lot. So I went through an experience, a really painful experience, where I lost a job that I loved, and it was unexpected and just sad. And then I had a baby, and then I was a full-on mom, and my world, hi, do you want this or no? My world was changed in a lot of different ways. I remember within the 10 days after I had her feeling like I couldn't connect with her. Everybody around me loved her. They were so sweet and so good about just talking about how amazing she was. But I remember secretly feeling like I could not connect. I couldn't feel what everyone else was feeling. I would cry when the sun would go down. I was super anxious about nighttime. Eloise didn't take a pacifier or a bottle. And so I was the one who was the primary like feeder and soother of this baby. Sean was amazing, actually. He was super helpful, but there was just only so much that he could do. And I remember feeling homesick for the doctor. Whenever we would drive by the hospital, this lasted for months, when I would see the hospital, I would feel that feeling of homesick, like I really wanted to go back there and be taken care of. And I just knew that that was a little bit weird. I remember day 10 of having Eloise was the first time I experienced like this real connection, where I was nursing her late at night, and I remember feeling intense feelings of love for her and being amazed by it, being like, oh my gosh, this is what everybody else is talking about. This is such a great feeling. Unfortunately though, I also continued to have really sad feelings, kind of ups and downs, Another thing I read is that baby blues, they peak between days 2 and 5 after having a baby. And so there's baby blues, which most women face because you are having all kinds of crazy things happening with your hormones. And then postpartum depression lasts significantly longer beyond that, and sometimes can get more intense months after having the baby. Anyway, so I knew that I was experiencing baby blues, didn't know if I was having postpartum depression. I just know that I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to receive help. I didn't know how to talk about the fact that I didn't like being a mom. I could not sleep very well. Even when it was my turn to sleep, I was super anxious. Hi, Bubas. I was super anxious about Eloise dying or just something happening. And even when I wasn't specifically afraid of something, I just felt like I couldn't get my mind to turn off and my heart to stop racing. Eventually, all of this subsided. I think without talking about my full depression story, I think overall things got easier as she got bigger and as we figured out some of her tummy trouble issues. I cut dairy out of my diet with her because she had a lot of kind of colicky type symptoms, and it was really challenging. Anyway, things got better. Eventually, they got worse for me in my mind. We moved to a foreign country. I didn't speak Spanish, loved the place, but was really isolated and just wasn't dealing with my emotions very well and ended up very, very depressed. Went to a hospital, got a lot better, thankfully. I was medicated for a while. I got off my medication prior to getting pregnant with Wilson, and I have not been medicated since. I'm super thankful for that. Not that I'm against medication. It did what it needed to do. But hi, boo-boos. What's up? Do you want to lay? Here, why don't we lay? You want to lay? Cuckoos. Hi. With Wilson, some stuff has gone differently, and I'd love to tell you about it because I think it's helped. I think I've been intentional in ways that, if you are intentional, could help your experience. One is I started off knowing that I am super susceptible to depression, and it would be highly likely that I would end up depressed. Not like I'm speaking negatively about myself, but I wanted to go into this pregnancy and into having this baby knowing that it was possible for me to be depressed. And because of that, I've been really honest with my people around me to say if I'm struggling. They also have been great to ask me questions. My doctor's been great to ask if I'm doing okay. So it's been like on the forefront of everybody's mind that it's possible I would feel really bad after having this baby. And I think just the awareness in general has helped a lot. I've also been a lot better at receiving help and asking for help. Like I said in a previous video, I go to the YMCA now, and so I'm getting some exercise, and while that's happening, I have childcare. With Eloise, I didn't make that a priority. I did go for walks and stuff, but I always had her with me, and as much as I loved that time, I think it's really beneficial to have some time apart from the baby. With Wilson, I have highs and lows. There are days where I'll say the emotions that I feel remind me of depression, but I don't think I'm depressed. I also have it where if I have several days in a row where I haven't left the house with the kids, or without them, just left the house in general, I start to feel really low. The interesting thing though is that I don't want to leave the house. Like if I've gone a few days, leaving the house sounds really scary. And so I actually need help from friends or from Sean to say, we gotta go, let's get out of here. And either I leave the house by myself or just with the baby or just with Eloise, something to get me going. Once I've done it, the anxiety kind of diminishes and it's easier to leave. I think, yeah, learning how to receive help has been a big deal. Even the decision that we made where I would pump and have Sean or anyone offer the baby a bottle once a day. We were doing it consistently for once a day for a while. Now I haven't been doing it every day, but some days Sean or someone else will give the baby a bottle for me, and that gives me time to rest. That's been really beneficial for me. With both pregnancies, I took vitamins during pregnancy and after. I've heard that B vitamins can help with your moods. Also, fish oil could help with your mood. I don't know. I just will buy into anything natural seeming. And what else can I say? Oh, in reading about postpartum depression, there's some different steps they recommend for moms prior to medicating them. So if you're somebody who's watching my videos and you're like, oh my gosh, I am not myself, I don't have motivation for life, I can feel myself going downhill, it can even get to a point where you feel like you can't handle your baby would be better off without you, you are tempted to hurt yourself or your baby. That all is pretty normal, unfortunately. Not everybody experiences that, but for those of us who have experienced it, you're not crazy. It happens. One of the things they'll say is get support. And so even phone support can help, meaning calling someone you love, FaceTiming somebody, expressing how you're doing. It doesn't even need to be a FaceTime where you're calling just to say, I feel terrible, but just calling to talk through life. How have you been? We're designed for a relationship. We're meant to do life with people, and motherhood can be a really isolating role. So we have to be intentional about reaching out and talking to other people about our lives and about their lives. So doctors would recommend some sort of support. You can also look up mom groups in your area, which I know when you're depressed, it's really hard to feel motivated to connect with someone. It's sort of like me knowing I need to leave the house, but the longer I go without leaving the house, the more I don't want to leave the house. But we need each other. So getting connected to a mom group, often churches have groups for moms. There's even such thing as a postpartum doula, which I didn't realize this existed, but it's somebody who will come to the house and they basically are like, they're like a mother for the mother. They're support for the whole family, and they can come and help you for a day. You have to pay for that, but that could be something really important if your mental health is on the line. And hi boo-boos. Doing anything you can to get more rest is really important. So if you're somebody who may be suffering from postpartum depression, it's a very real thing. It's led people to very dark places, including suicide. And so it's something to be taken very seriously. And if you are struggling or suffering in that way, reach out for help. Obviously, you want to seek a doctor when it comes to the most intense form of this. But initially, reaching out to friends, family, and seeking some sort of help with your baby would be really important. So for Wilson, that's what I've done. I think generally speaking, it's easier second kid because my life is already in motherhood zone, right? When I had Eloise, I had never done this motherhood thing yet, and having her changed everything. Now I already kind of know what that's like, and I've been doing it for a while, so it wasn't as huge of an adjustment in that way. Now the challenge is just figuring out how do you do stuff with 2 kids, but it's been okay. And Eloise is at a really cool age to have a little brother. She's really independent and she loves him a lot, and I just feel like it's been easy in a lot of ways. I really like you guys. I really care about you. I love seeing messages from you. I can't always respond. I pray for you if that means anything to you. I really do. And I hope that these videos serve you and that you know you're not alone. If you're up late at night nursing and you're feeling isolated and scared and I don't know, just kind of messed up, you are not alone. It does get easier. You're doing great, and there are resources for you. So I hope that I can encourage you in this motherhood thing. If I can do it, you can do it. And I really like doing it with you. So I hope you're doing good. We'll see you on Instagram and see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye.